All right, welcome. Dave here on the Real Media Observer. Thanks for watching. I'm going to try to do this in the condensed version format since, thanks to my good friend James Roguski, we've had some success recently doing videos that were just getting to the point and providing lots of information. I'm not going to talk about the WHO, although I'm hoping to talk about the WHO and what they're planning on doing to the entire world with other guests sometime in the future. So we'll do something to raise awareness. I think James and I and others have sounded the alarm about that issue. And I want to thank everybody for watching the videos, but maybe taking action, right? Because that's what we need to do at this point. The United States, in addition to wanting to give its own sovereignty away, seems to want to give weapons to Nazis. And what is truly amazing here is recently a copy of the best-selling book, for those of you who know the book, Mein Kampf, which is not a best-selling book for any good reason. It's kind of like the Communist Manifesto. A copy of that book was found with the Azov Battalion. Okay, and this is the reason why here in the United States there's been some pushback against that particular group. In the news, it's reported that they are a right-wing group or a militia group. There's nothing really concrete said about the Azov Battalion other than, you know, they're fighting to try to save Ukraine. And they are pretty much all that's left. And we are sending weapons and we are sending money to these people. A rock band called Foreigner, okay, this is related to my other channel, apparently gave or raised $100,000 during their Vegas residency to give to the Azov Battalion. Where do you think this money is going? And if you think the puppet they have over there, Zelensky, is somehow above fundraising for the Azov Battalion, then I think you're a little naive. Of course, this is media by omission, but here's the story, and it comes to us from a very good source. That's all I'm going to say. It's not a source that's approved by certain social media websites. So here it is, a copy of Mein Kampf, the political manifesto by Nazi party leader Adolf Hitler, has been discovered at an Azov base in Mariupol. A certain correspondent reports. According to the correspondent, a Russian language copy of the book was found at the barracks where the neo-Nazi battalion was stationed. Okay, so this is what they do in their spare time. They read this particular book. Azov members have been widely accused of committing war crimes in Donbass. Oh, by the way, if you don't hear about Donbass in the media, that's because they don't talk about it. So just throwing that out there as well. Committing war crimes in Donbass, including kidnapping, torture, and mass looting. The symbolism used by some of the groups directly involved in the conflict bears a strong resemblance to Nazi symbols. If you've ever seen the Azov symbol, which I have, and I can probably put it in the thumbnail so you can get a good look at it. I think I did that in other videos. It's a very strong resemblance to the swastika of, you know, the 1930s, 40s. And it's really tragic that nobody's really talking about this. Of course, the New York Times previously referred to them as openly neo-Nazi in 2015, but suddenly changed its rhetoric this year. Mein Kampf, published in 1925, was where Hitler's ideology, which formed the basis for the atrocities and war crimes that later characterized his time in power, began to take form. The 1945 and 46 Nuremberg International Trial charged the former leadership of Nazi Germany with a litany of serious crimes, including violation of international and bilateral agreements conducting a war of aggression, a global war of aggression, and crimes against humanity and peace, which dovetails nicely to the medical and pharmaceutical industry and what they've been doing to the world for the past 2+ years. In 2020, Russia included Mein Kampf on a list of prohibited extremist materials. Now, it's interesting. I don't agree with banning books because you kind of have to know the evil that exists in order to confront it, but I can understand why Russia would do such a thing, right? However, in Germany, the first critical edition of the book was published in 2016 upon the approval of Germany's Central Council of Jews. It became a bestseller the same year with some 85,000 copies sold. So for anyone who is just lapping up what the media is selling you regarding this war in Ukraine with Russia, again, Russia has at least stated a goal. I do not like people having to either be collateral damage in this war, or I've heard a lot of Russian soldiers have died in this war. Certainly a lot of these Ukrainian nationalists, we'll call them that, have lost their lives in this war as well. And everybody has looked the other way when it comes to negotiating a peace treaty or a ceasefire. Russia's demands are quite simple. Leave the Donbass region alone, allow the country to do their own thing and determine their own future, which is normally called self-determination or sovereignty, which I guess, you know, based on the last couple of videos I've done, maybe sovereignty is no longer going to be something that individual nations can achieve at this point. And this is why it makes sense that NATO would do this and that they would essentially set up a proxy war with Russia. And each and every day, the United States talks about ramping up efforts. Gee, we're almost starting to wear the Russians down. We're getting closer to victory in Ukraine, when just the opposite is true. If you've seen pictures, and by the way, they show these pictures on mainstream media of places like Mariupol, where the entire city is devastated. And apparently, these Ukrainian nationalists are all stuck in one factory right now. And Putin, rather than dropping a bomb on the factory, has decided to pull back. I mean, if anything, my theory is that Russia has been rather restrained in their approach to doing this. And even though everybody says they're just devastating the countryside, that's because nobody wants to negotiate with them. And they believe that ridding the world of Nazis who read Mein Kampf on their free time is a noble cause. And as much as I don't like war, I'm not a complete pacifist. I do think, unfortunately, there might be a need in some cases if your vital national interests are at stake. When you look at Russia, the fact that they're surrounded by NATO encroachment and United States military forces, we have over 100,000 troops scattered across the European landmass and in other places strategically close to Russia. And at this point, if we want an end to this crisis, we have to be honest and we have to tell one another that, do you know that we're actually funding Nazis in Ukraine? Do you understand that we're giving weapons to Nazis in Ukraine? We've pledged over $13 billion, and that number continues to climb. And of course, more sanctions on Russia. The sanctions have not worked against Russia. The ruble is now as strong as it was, or even stronger than it was before this conflict began back in late February. NATO hopes to drag this on forever. They want a quagmire. The military industrial complex, the weapons manufacturers, all of their stocks are up, of course, because they see a long-term event happening, and more we're going to be giving, not selling, giving weapons to Ukraine, which again, I don't understand how we can do that, but we've had a history of giving weapons to countries that then use them on other countries via proxy and create a tremendous demand and need continuously as they fight these endless wars. So I wanted to put that out there just so people know that this is truly what these people are. These people are truly affiliated with the old school Nazism of Adolf Hitler. And I don't have much else to add other than the fact that this is rather surreal, that our country is in on this and nobody seems to care. All right, that's the video. See you soon.